I have been telling truck owners the same thing for 30 years, and gas stations all over this country quietly refer to it as the thing they hope nobody actually finds out about. I'm going to tell you what it is right now, and I'm going to explain exactly why it works and why nobody in the fuel business wants you to know it. This is not a trick. This is not a gimmick. This is free fuel economy sitting right under your truck right now, and almost no one is using it. If you are new here, my name is Wade Tucker. I am a diesel mechanic from Eastern Tennessee. I spent 22 years turning wrenches for a living, and I have worked on more pickup trucks than I can count. I started this channel because the information I am about to give you is the kind of information that used to pass from father to son on a tailgate in a farmyard. It does not pass that way anymore. It gets buried instead under service department waiting rooms and $150 diagnostic fees and tire pressure settings designed to sell you new rubber before you need it. So let us fix that. Subscribe to this channel if you want to learn how to take care of your own truck. There is no sponsor here. There is no agenda beyond telling you what I have actually seen work in 40 years of doing this. That is the whole point of this channel, and that is why I am going to start with the single most valuable thing I know about fuel economy in a pickup truck. And I am going to start with it right now because this applies to every single truck on the road, regardless of make, model, or year. The trick is tire pressure. Specifically, running your tires at the manufacturer recommended maximum PSI that is printed on the door jamb sticker on the driver's side door of your truck, not the number that is stamped on the sidewall of the tire, not the number your dealer set when the truck rolled off the lot, the number on the door jamb sticker that specifies the maximum cold tire pressure for your vehicle. I have been saying this on every platform I have had for 30 years, and I am going to keep saying it until every single person watching this understands exactly why it matters and exactly what it is doing to your wallet every single time you fill up. Let me explain what is happening when your tires are underinflated. When a tire is low, the contact patch, the actual area of the tire that touches the ground, gets larger instead of smaller. That sounds like a good thing. More rubber on the road, more traction. And for traction, it actually is fine. But here is what you are not being told. That larger contact patch creates dramatically more rolling resistance. Rolling resistance is the energy your engine has to expend just to keep the tire rolling down the road. When the contact patch grows because your tire is soft, the engine has to work harder to push that larger patch across the asphalt. More engine work means more fuel. It is that simple. And it is happening to you right now if your tires are set to the pressure your dealer put on them. Now I know what your dealer set them to. I know because I have talked to thousands of truck owners, and I have checked the tire pressure on hundreds of trucks at various shops and dealerships. Your dealer set your tires to somewhere between 30 and 35 PSI. That is the industry standard. It is not because it is the best for your fuel economy. It is not because it is the best for your tires. It is because it is the safest, softest, most comfortable setting that minimizes the chance of a warranty claim and maximizes the chance that your tires will wear unevenly and need replacing sooner rather than later. I am going to say that again because I want you to hear it. The pressure your dealer sets your tires to is the pressure that is best for the dealer's business, not for your fuel tank or your tires. Here's what happens when you set your tires to the maximum PSI listed on your door jamb sticker. Every additional PSI above the dealer setting reduces rolling resistance. The numbers are real. Studies from the Department of Energy and real-world testing by organizations like Consumer Reports have shown that for every 1 PSI increase in tire pressure within the appropriate range, rolling resistance drops by approximately 0.5 to 1%. That does not sound like much until you do the math on what that means for a full tank of fuel. On a typical American full-size pickup truck with a 26-gallon tank running on gasoline at $3.50 a gallon, you are looking at a fill-up of roughly $91. A 2 to 4% improvement in fuel economy on that tank translates to a savings of approximately $1.80 to $3.60 per fill-up. Now I know some of you are going to say that is not a lot of money, and you are right, it is not a lot of money on one tank. But let me tell you what I have told truck owners for 3 decades. The average American driver fills up their tank roughly 50 times a year. 50 fill-ups times an average savings of $2.70 per tank comes to $135 a year. for doing nothing but walking out to your truck with a tire gauge and an air chuck at a gas station and adding 5 to 10 psi to each tire. $135 a year, every year, without touching anything else on your truck. Now the title of this video says 50 miles per tank, and I want to explain where that number comes from so you understand it is not made up. If you have a truck that gets approximately 15 miles per gallon in mixed driving and you run a 26-gallon tank, your range on a full tank is roughly 400 miles. A 2 to 4% improvement in fuel economy on that 400-mile range gives you 8 to 16 additional miles per tank. The 50-mile number I put in the title is on the optimistic end of that range, based on the kind of highway driving I see a lot of you doing. The real number for most of you watching will be somewhere between 8 and 20 miles, depending on how you drive and what your baseline economy looks like. But 8 to 20 miles for free, every single tank, is still the best deal in fuel economy that exists. And I have yet to find a single gas station that is going to tell you about it. Have you ever tried this? Tell me in the comments. I want to hear about your experience because I have been having this conversation for 30 years and the results are consistent, and the people who try it once never go back to the soft pressure setting. That is the thing about this trick. Once you understand the math, once you feel the difference at the pump, you stop seeing the air pump at the gas station the same way. You stop seeing it as something optional or cosmetic. You see it as the cheapest fuel upgrade you will ever get. Now let me tell you why your dealer does not want you to know this, and why your tire shop is not going to bring it up either. The first reason is liability. Dealers and service departments make more money when your tires wear out faster. A set of tires for a full-size pickup runs anywhere from $600 to over $1,000, depending on what you buy. If your tires wear evenly and last 60,000 miles instead of 40,000 miles, that is one fewer set of tires you are buying per decade. That is $600 to $1,000 that is not going into someone's service department or tire shop. They are not actively sabotaging your tire pressure. They are just not optimizing it for your wallet, because optimizing it for your wallet is not their job. Their job is to keep the revenue flowing, and a truck that needs service is a truck that generates revenue. The second reason is ride comfort. Higher tire pressure gives you a slightly firmer ride. That is physics. It is not dangerous, it is not harmful to your truck, but it is noticeable if you are paying attention. And the dealers know that if they set your tires to the maximum pressure, some customers would come back and complain that the truck feels different. So they split the difference. They set the pressure low enough that the ride feels soft and comfortable and premium, and they let you absorb the fuel economy cost of that decision without ever telling you what it is costing you. They are not lying to you exactly. They are just not telling you the full truth. And I have spent my whole life around men who do not tell the full truth about things that affect your wallet. The third reason is tire sales. Here is a fact that nobody at a tire shop is going to volunteer for you. Low tire pressure causes faster and more uneven tire wear. When a tire runs at 30 psi instead of 40 psi, the shoulders of the tire carry more load than the center of the tread. That means the edges of your tire wear down faster than the center. That means your tires wear out unevenly. That means you need new tires sooner. That means the tire shop sells more tires. And I want to be clear about something. This is not some secret conspiracy. It is simply the natural consequence of a business model that profits from your ignorance. The more you do not know about proper tire pressure, the more tires you will buy. And every time you buy a set of tires, someone makes money on them. That is the system you are operating in, and now that you understand it, you can opt out of it. Now let me tell you exactly how to do this correctly. This matters because doing it wrong will not hurt your truck, but it can make the results less than optimal, and it can even be unsafe if you are not paying attention to the right things. Here is the correct procedure for checking and setting your tire pressure. First, check your tires when they are cold. This means first thing in the morning before you have driven the truck anywhere. When you drive, your tires heat up and the air inside them expands. That expansion increases the pressure reading. If you check your tires when they are hot, you will get a reading that is artificially high, and you will not be setting them to the correct pressure. I cannot tell you how many people have come to me over the years saying they set their tires to the right pressure, but the ride felt wrong. And when I ask them when they checked it, they say after they drove 30 miles on the highway. That is not a cold reading, and it is not accurate. First thing in the morning, cold tires. That is the only time that matters. Second, use a good quality tire gauge, not the one built into the air chuck at the gas station. Those things are usually wrong, often by as much as 5 psi in either direction. I recommend keeping a simple mechanical tire gauge in your glove box. The pencil-style ones are reliable and they cost less than $10. You do not need a digital one. You do not need a fancy one. You need one that is accurate and that you trust. And once you have one you trust, use it every time. Consistency matters more than anything else here. Check the same way, at the same time, with the same gauge, and you will get consistent results. Third, find the correct pressure for your specific truck. I said it earlier, but I want to be explicit because this is the most common mistake I see. The correct pressure is not the number stamped on the sidewall of your tire. That number is the maximum safe pressure for that tire under maximum load conditions. It is not the recommended pressure for your vehicle. The correct number is on the door jamb sticker on the driver's side door of your truck. It is usually between 35 and 44 psi depending on the truck and the tire size. I have a 2015 F-150 that calls for 36 psi on the front and 38 psi on the rear. Different numbers front and rear because the weight distribution is different. That sticker is the final word. Not the tire, not the dealer, the sticker. Fourth, add air to each tire and check as you go. Do not inflate to the maximum stamped on the tire sidewall unless that happens to match your door jamb sticker. In most cases it will not. Fill each tire to the PSI listed on your door jamb sticker. Then drive to your next destination and check them again when they are cold the next morning to confirm they are holding. They should be. If a tire is losing more than 1 or 2 PSI per week, you have a slow leak and that needs to be addressed. But that is a different video. For now, just get them to the right pressure and confirm they hold. Once you have done this, pay attention to how the truck feels. The steering will feel slightly more responsive. The handling will feel more direct. The ride will be a little firmer but not harsh, not uncomfortable, not anything that should concern you. What you should notice most is the fuel economy. After a few tanks, you will see it at the pump. You will see more miles on your range gauge and you will be stopping less often. And if you are like the thousands of truck owners I have had this conversation with over the years, you will never set your tires to the dealer pressure again. Now I want to give you a few more tricks that cost nothing because if you are going to walk out to your truck with a tire gauge, you might as well pick up a few other free fuel habits while you are at it. These are things I have practiced for decades and they are all real. None of them are magic, but when you stack them together, they add up. The first one is filling up in the morning. Fuel is denser when it is cold. Gas stations keep their tanks underground and the fuel is coolest in the early morning hours before the day warms up. When you fill up in the morning, you are getting slightly more fuel molecules per gallon than you would at noon on a hot day. Now I want to be honest with you about this one. This is a marginal benefit. It is real, but it is small. You are talking about maybe 0.5% improvement if you are very consistent about it. On a 26-gallon tank, that is less than half a gallon of extra fuel per fill-up. I am not telling you to wake up at 5 in the morning to save 3 cents. I am telling you that if you have a regular routine and you tend to fill up at the same place at roughly the same time, doing it in the morning is slightly better. Every little bit adds up. That is the whole point here. The second one is highway speed. This one is not a trick. This is just physics and the numbers are not subtle. Every 5 miles per hour you drive above 60 miles per hour costs you roughly 7 to 8% in fuel economy. I want you to sit with that number for a second because it is enormous. If you are driving at 70 miles per hour instead of 60, you are burning approximately 14 to 16% more fuel to cover the same distance. On a 400-mile trip, that is 50 to 60 miles worth of fuel that you are burning extra just because of your speed. At 65 miles per hour on the interstate in my F-150, I get about 18 miles per gallon. At 80 miles per hour, I get about 14.5. That is a massive difference, and it does not take a mathematician to understand what is happening. Your truck has to overcome wind resistance, which increases with the square of your speed. At higher speeds, you are pushing a lot more air out of the way every second, and that takes energy, and that energy costs fuel. Slow down on the highway, and your tank will take you further than you think. The third one is coasting in gear. I hear a lot of people say they save fuel by putting their truck in neutral and coasting downhill or up to a stop sign. And I want to set the record straight on this because it is one of the most commonly repeated myths in all of trucking. Coasting in neutral does not save fuel. Here is why. When your engine is running and your truck is in gear, the engine's computers cut fuel delivery entirely when you release the gas pedal and the engine is spinning above idle speed. The wheels are driving the drivetrain and the engine is just along for the ride. It is not consuming fuel. When you put the truck in neutral, the engine drops to idle speed and the computers have to add fuel to keep the engine running. So you are actually using fuel to idle your engine while you coast. The difference is small, but it is real, and it is backwards from what most people believe. What you want to do is stay in gear when you are coasting. Let the engine braking slow you down. This is free, it does not cost fuel, and it reduces wear on your brakes. I have been driving this way for 40 years and my brake jobs last twice as long as they should because I barely use the brakes on the highway. When I see a stop ahead, I take my foot off the gas early and let the truck slow down in gear. By the time I need to actually brake, I am already at a much lower speed and the braking is easy. This is not a trick your grandfather would have called a trick. He would have just called it driving. But in a world where people are confused about neutral and fuel consumption, it is worth stating clearly. Now I want to circle back to where I started because this matters more than any of the individual tricks I have talked about today. Free fuel knowledge is the most valuable knowledge there is. I have spent my entire adult life learning about trucks and engines and mechanics, and I have come to understand one fundamental truth that I want you to carry with you after you finish watching this video. The people who profit from your truck do not want you to know how to save fuel on it. They want you dependent on their service departments and their diagnostic fees and their overpriced parts and their proprietary everything. Every piece of knowledge you pick up about how your truck actually works is a piece of knowledge that takes money out of their pockets and puts it back in yours. That is not a coincidence. That is the system working exactly as designed. So when I tell you that checking your tire pressure and setting it to the correct PSI is going to save you $135 a year, I am not telling you a fun fact. I am telling you something that the fuel industry and the tire industry and the dealership service industry have known for decades and have chosen not to tell you. They have chosen not to tell you because every dollar they do not have to give back to you is a dollar they get to keep. That is the game. And now you know how to play a different one. If this video gave you something useful, if you learned something that is going to put money back in your pocket, then subscribe. That is all I ask. I have 40 years of this stuff and I'm going to keep putting it out here for as long as I can because the information needs to exist somewhere where regular truck owners can find it. Not behind a paywall, not behind a diagnostic fee, not behind a service appointment that costs more than the part you need. Just here, free for the taking. The knowledge your grandfather had about his truck is still true. The physics have not changed. The engines have not changed in the ways that matter. And the tricks that save you fuel are still free. You just have to know what they are. If you have already tried the tire pressure trick, tell me in the comments. I want to know what truck you were driving and what kind of results you got. I read every comment and I will respond to as many as I can. And if you have a trick of your own that costs nothing and saves fuel, leave it down there. Let us build this list together. This channel belongs to every truck owner who is tired of being told what their truck needs by people who have a financial interest in keeping them confused.